Sometimes the best characters in a story are the supporting characters. They all have them, including good spy stories. And today I want to tell you about one of my favorites. This guy named Sir Hugh Knatchbull Hugeson, a very critical supporting character in the story of the Cicero Spy Affair. Now, Cicero was the code name for this guy, Basna. He was Turkish, and Turkey was neutral for like 98% of World War II. And if there's any situation that attracts spies like moths to a flame, it's neutral countries during wars because they're neutral, so everybody can be there. You don't have to worry about how hard it is to get your information back to HQ because you've got support right in the town, as well as your targets. So in Turkey, you had Germans and Austrians and Italians, but you also had British and American and Russian. So it was just this hotbed of espionage activity. So enter this guy Basna. Now, it depends on the account you read. There's tons of literature about this guy. It's this like archetypical textbook spy affair. He gets his code name Cicero. He gets a job working for the British ambassador to Turkey, copies a boatload of documents, high quality, and sells them to the Germans. He was strictly working for money, is the most common interpretation. Some people say that actually he was really a British double agent, and apparently Malcolm Gladwell, of all people, interviewed the old SIS chief Stuart Menzies before he died. And Menzies was like, yeah, Cicero was one of ours, but it seems unlikely. And this is the reason that it's probably really unlikely that Cicero worked and spied for anything other than money, is because the reason his story became so famous is one of the documents that he shared with the Germans was information about Operation Overlord. And Operation Overlord was the code name for the planned D-Day invasions. And it was really critical for the Allies, for the British and the Americans and the Canadians, that Germany wouldn't know exactly where those D-Day landings were going to be. And as a matter of fact, I think the Germans thought they were going to be up closer to Calais. They were not expecting the Normandy beaches. And of course, that was critical because if the Germans knew they were coming to those beaches, they would have had a lot more defenses set up. So Cicero, his big claim to fame is that he actually gave the Germans a bit of information about, including the name Operation Overlord, and could have, drastically changed the outcome of World War II, but he didn't. And this is why. And this is where a really, really quirky supporting character enters. So, as I mentioned, Cicero was spying on the British ambassador. The British ambassador was Sir Hugh Knatchbull Hugeson. Now, as you can probably imagine from his double-barrel name, Sir Hugh was the kind of British guy who got his job because, there were earls in the family lineage and he went to Eton and, hunted foxes and whatever else it is they do. So it wasn't really strictly based on merit, right? He was just part of that club, the part of that club that you needed to find a job for, and so sent them out into the world to do diplomacy, whatever worked for them. And so Sir Hugh, he didn't think that spying was a gentlemanly thing to do. But kind of like, when kids hide themselves under the covers and then think that makes that they've disappeared. Sir Hugh thought that because he just didn't think spying should happen, it didn't. Now, that's probably a little bit simplistic, and maybe I'm not being fair to him, but the fact remains is that MI6, through channels down to the diplomats, got Sir Hugh warning multiple times that a member of his staff, likely his valet, was compromised. They knew that there was intelligence coming out of the British embassy, and Sir Hugh was warned. And Sir Hugh said, no, I don't believe it. And so what did Sir Hugh do? He just left things unlogged. I mean, he didn't take security seriously. He didn't take the threat of compromise seriously. He didn't take the warning seriously. He didn't take anything seriously. So legend has it is that Cicero was able to take his time. He had this leisurely espionage job because while Sir Hugh was bathing or sleeping or wandering around the ambassador's residence, whatever he did, Cicero just copied everything that came in. Now, the reason that the Germans didn't pounce all over this, oh my God, Operation Overlord thing is because Cicero, Basna, got so much information and it was so high quality because he wasn't rushed when he was taking the pictures of it, that the Germans thought that it wasn't real. They didn't pay a ton of attention to his information because they assumed, or at least enough of them in high places assumed, that it couldn't be factual. And that's how the rumor started that he was actually a double agent for the British, because they just really didn't think that he would have the kind of opportunities he had working in the ambassador's office to steal such abundance of high quality information. But it's all down to quirky supporting character Sir Hugh, who just didn't believe that his embassy was compromised, that spies should, be paid attention to at all, or that spying was a viable thing and that anybody did it. I don't know what he believed. Maybe that's a little bit unfair. But anyway, he's a really interesting character, and he could have single-handedly handed defeat to the Allies, right? Because he didn't believe that any of this was important, he, if he had had more detailed information on Operation Overlord, it could have absolutely ended up in the hand of the Germans. So we had a narrow escape with that one. Sir Hugh, I don't know what happened to him. Apparently he passed away peacefully some years after the war, never really understanding how badly he completely screwed up. Anyways, if you have any questions or comments about this story, let me know. Otherwise, hope everyone's doing well.